Evening and welcome to today's live stream, where I'll be covering overcoming cultural differences. I'm so glad that you're able to join me and watch this video with me. So today we'll be looking at three aspects with regards to cultural differences, and the reason I'm touching on this topic is because number one, we live in a country where we have people from virtually different walks of life, different cultural backgrounds, different tribes. um, Different languages even, and it's often very difficult to know the different nuances and things that we need to be aware of when you communicate with people from different cultures and different tribes and people who don't speak our language. So I'm going to cover three things with regard to this. The first thing is on cultural awareness. Secondly, I'll be talking on effective cross-cultural communication. And lastly, on how to gain knowledge about different cultures. Okay, so in terms of the first point, with cultural awareness, it's important to understand cultural differences because this can greatly enhance your communication when you're speaking to someone of a different culture. Um, because obviously, different cultures, as I mentioned in my intro, have different things that they do and ways of communication. And you can actually make sure that you avoid misunderstanding. And as an example, if you're speaking to in some cultures, it's rude to look someone directly in the eye while they're talking to you. It can be seen as rude and confrontational. So, whereas I know that in some cultures, it's accepted that when someone is talking to you, you look them directly in the eye. Um, so certain nonverbal communication cues may be misinterpreted because in some cultures one thing may mean one thing and in another culture you find that it means something else. So also language can be a barrier, and I know that, and even different dialects, because you find that in, for example, I'm from South Africa, and you find that if one language is spoken, like for example, with a language, one language that's spoken in one part of the country, when you move to another part of the country, um, you find that they may be speaking the same language, but they use different dialects and different words, different phraseology, which may not be understood. So it's also important to be aware of that. Um, and secondly, in terms of how to effectively communicate with someone from a different culture, it's important that you adapt your communication style. Because I know that in some cultures, for example, if you want to come and talk to someone about something serious, you don't just come and say, Linda, hi, we need to chat. And we sit down and we start talking about whatever we need to talk to. You need to go about it sometimes in a very roundabout way. Talk about the weather, talk about your kids, your cat, your dog, before you get to the topic you want to discuss. But in some cultures, it may be appropriate to just off the bat start talking about what you want to talk about. So it's important to be aware of that. And it's also very important to build what I would call cultural competence. In other words, learning to appreciate other cultures and what they do and don't do when they communicate. Especially now, like I was saying, we live in a country with people from all walks of life, and now we're even in a global village where we're interacting with people from all over the world. So it's important to learn and know what the different cultural nuances are from people from other parts of the world as well, especially if you work in a team that is across the globe. And also, just avoid stereotypes, okay? Because when stereotypes, as we all know, these are generalizations that we make about a group of people. And I mean, I would hate to think that all people of a certain culture or all people of a certain tribe are all exactly the same, and all behave or respond the same in certain situations. Um, and I don't like painting everyone with the same brush. So that's why it's important to get to know the culture, get to know the people. And if you do know someone from that culture, interact with them and ask them about their culture, or about more information, because then it will make your communication with that person that much more effective. And the last thing I want to touch on is gaining knowledge about different cultures. There's different ways to do this. You can study different cultural practices and norms, especially with regard to communication. And today, we live in an age where we are very connected. We've got technology. You can use various online search engines to learn about different cultures, practices, and so on. And also, like I said, engage with people from diverse cultures and backgrounds. Don't be stereotypical and only choose to interact with people just from your culture, or who just speak your language, or who just look like you and sound like you. Because by interacting with people from various backgrounds, you'll be able to learn all the nuances that I was talking about of different cultures. And also, if there's a webinar, a seminar, a workshop where you can learn about different cultures, please do go ahead and join, and so as to learn. And watch documentaries, read books. I mean, there's so many resources. If you're lazy to read, watch a YouTube video. um, or Google, like I said. Yeah, so I think that's it for today. So it's very important to be culturally aware and recognize and understand cultural differences, especially, like I said, in light of the fact that we live in a country where people come from different backgrounds, different cultures, and we're now interacting with the global community, where it becomes so much more important to understand those nuances. And in order to have effective communication across different cultures, um, learn and exchange information with people from different cultures, and they could learn from you, you could learn from them. And also, like I mentioned, avoid stereotyping people and boxing people and oversimplifying that, oh, people from culture X, or people from this area or that area are like this. you know and also just learn to be culturally competent, and understand how to communicate effectively with people from various cultures. Yeah, so that's all I'm going to cover today in this YouTube live. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Please watch my social media and follow me on social media on Facebook, Instagram. That's where I usually post about these things, um, where I'll be talking about nonverbal communication. Thank you for joining me, and see you then.